The story begins in the waking world, and when people fall asleep, sleep brings them to a dream world controlled by the Sandman, the king of dreams. The Sandman takes his vestments that power him to the waking world and leaves to pursue a rogue nightmare. Dr. John reaches Witch Cross to meet a sorcerer named Roderick Burgess, also known as Magus. Magus asks his younger son Alex to bring tea for the guest. John and Magus had previously met at a museum, and now he comes here to ask for Magus's help. John gives him the Magdalene grimoire so Magus can imprison the angel of death to redeem their dead sons. Corinthian creation of Sandman is killing a man, and he arrives to take him back, but Corinthian refuses. Sandman uses his ruby to kill him, but suddenly everything stops and Sandman disappears. Magus starts the spell and conjures various objects, opening the door to another world, and Sandman falls there. Magus then takes his sand, ruby, and helmet so he can't escape. By doing this, many people could not wake up from their sleep, and the disease of sleep sequence spread. Corinthian visits Magus and tells him, "You imprison the Lord of Dreams, but ensure that he never escapes." Magus tells him the binding circle is intact, and Corinthian suggests putting him in sphere glass. No one must be allowed to sleep in front of him, or he will escape through your dreams. Magus asks him, "Why you helping me?" He tells him the Sandman is my lord and I don't want him to ever be free. Magus goes to Sandman and asks to bring his son back to life and immortality, but he is silent each time. 10 years later, there's a party at Magus' house and Alex asks people to leave, but they refuse. There comes a woman named Ethel who drives people away and moves in with Alex. The next day, Alex goes to see Sandman and tells him to accept my father's terms. Sandman tries to manipulate him with his power, but then Magus arrives and scolds Alex. Sandman's raven Jessamy sees them, and Magus asks Alex to kill this raven, and we see Ethel is now living with Magus. Jessamy sneaks into the house and sets it on fire. She goes to the Sandman and tries to break the glass with her beak. Alex shoots the crow and Magus scolds him for shooting at the glass. Ethel is pregnant with Magus's child, but he asks her for an abortion. Ethel leaves taking all the stuff of Sandman and the magic book, and Magus orders to find her. Magus gets angry at Sandman and tells him to talk, but when Alex stops him, he starts to get angry at Alex. Alex accidentally kills Magus in a fit of rage, and Sandman takes the opportunity to manipulate him, but Alex stops himself. Alex is depressed and befriends Paul, while Ethel gives birth to a boy and vows to fulfill her dreams with Sandman's vestments. Old Alex comes to Sandman and asks him to promise he will not harm him and Paul before freedom. Sandman remains quiet and Alex leaves disappointed, and the magical circle breaks with the wheelchair's tires. 2 guards are watching Sandman, and one of them talks about his dream to visit the Majorca beach. Sandman makes him fall asleep and he uses his dream. The man shoots at the glass and the Sandman frees himself after a long imprisonment. He goes into Alex's dream where he curses Alex to always be asleep. Corinthian knows that Sandman is free and leaves after taking out the man's eyes. Sandman returns to his world where his follower Lucien welcomes him. They open the palace's door and he sees everything is ruined and the people leave. Sandman vows to recreate his world again and the door closes. Inside the palace, after seeing everything is destroyed, he uses his power to rebuild it, but he falls. Lucien asks him to rest and he tells her, "Without my thing I am powerless." Sandman decides to get his tools with the help of a 3-in-1 Fates who can see past, present and future, but they need an offering. Lucien says, "You can take help from your sibling's destiny or desire." Sandman says, "They knew that I was imprisoned for 100 years but no one came to help me." He says, "Something created by me which is still in the dreaming, and by absorbing its power I can go to the dark world for help." A gargoyle flies to the house and a man named Abel calms her. He tells his brother Cain about the arrival of guests, and we see Sandman and Lucien visit them. They call Sandman Lord Morpheus, and Sandman tells them to sacrifice the gargoyle. The brothers tell him, "You gave us everything, but she is now one of us," and refuses to give her. Sandman asks Gargoyle and she agrees to sacrifice herself, and the brothers love her to the end. Sandman starts to absorb her and she goes inside him in the shape of sand. They leave, and when Abel prays for Sandman, Cain stabs him. Corinthian finds old Ethel, who is now running a successful business in New York. Corinthian asks her about the Sandman's vestments and she tells him, "I sold everything." Sandman dives into the dark water and finds a fate crossroad in the farmer's dream. He traps himself in an executioner's dream that sends him through otherworldly passages. He captures a destiny changer snake and an egg for an offering to Fates. Sandman goes to the Fates and gives them a destiny changer snake, and the Fates allow him to ask only 3 questions. He first asks about his sand, and Fate shows him it was sold in London to an exorcist named Joanna Constantine. He then asks about the helmet. His helmet was traded to a demon for the amulet of protection. His ruby was passed from a mother to a son, but the Fates answered him in riddles. Lucien picks up the egg and he tells her to send it to Abel and Cain. Abel rises from the grave and sees the egg lying there. Corinthian tries to kill Ethel, but she uses her magic locket to dismember him. Abel thinks that Cain gives him the egg, but Cain refuses to take the credit. A gargoyle hatches from the egg and Cain realizes that it was sent by the Sandman. Cain is still angry and kills Abel again. Ethel is known as Miss D and goes to visit her son Johnny, who has the ruby, and she keeps him in the hospital. The power of ruby makes her son ill and Johnny is angry with her mother for keeping him imprisoned. Ethel asks him about the ruby and the Sandman leaves to take his revenge. Corinthian is reborn and returns to the dream world where he meets Lucienne. Lucienne asks him to be loyal to their lord, but he refuses to stay and leaves. Sandman meets Joanna to trade, but she ignores him and goes inside the church. Priest Rick asks her to do an exorcism on the queen, who is possessed by a demon and wants to marry a footballer. She confronts the couple, who is ready for marriage, and the queen asks her to begin. Joanna starts exorcism and the demon comes out, tearing up the boy's body. Sandman also arrives and the demon tells him about the helmet, but in return he wants that queen. Before he can take any information from the demon, Joanna completes the exorcism and sends the demon back to hell. Ethel asks her son to tell her the location of the ruby because she is afraid of Sandman. Johnny refuses to tell her and calls her a liar and mistress of the Magus. He says, "I will only let you know about the ruby if you tell me the whole truth." Sandman tells Joanna to find her the sand because without it, his realm will cease to exist, and if the dreams disappear, then so will humanity. She agrees to find it but doesn't want his help or his raven to follow her. While Sandman is busy with Raven Matthew, Joanna escapes. He finds her dreaming when she is fighting with the demons to save a little girl Astra, but the demons take her except her hand. Joanna is shocked to see Sandman and asks him how you lost your sand if it is very important to you. He tells her an evil magician Magus kept me imprisoned for years and stole my tools from me. Johnny plans to use the ruby to create a new world, but Ethel stops him from doing so because she doesn't want the same thing as in the past. People died from using it. Johnny says he changed it and now only he can use it, but she takes off her protective locket and gives it to him. Joanna takes him to her friend's house, who has his sand, and asks him to wait outside. She meets Rachel and tells her she is here to take her things. Raven tells Sandman to go inside because they can't trust humans, and inside, both girls make love in a dream. Sandman goes inside and awakens Joanna. They go inside the room and see sand in Rach's hand while she is asleep and dreaming. Sandman takes it and Rach screams. He tells Joanna that sand kept her alive and starts to leave. Joanna asks him to fix her because she is a normal human. Joanna goes out and he blows sand on her, causing her to see Joanna for the last time in her dream and die peacefully. Ethel dies of old age and weakness due to taking off the protective pendant. The guard mistakenly thinks this is Johnny's job and Johnny tears his body and walks out to the hospital. Corinthian meets him outside and gives him his coat, but Johnny doesn't recognize him and leaves. Sandman tells her your friend died in peace and she says Rach was a good person. While they are talking, Matthew arrives and she asks him to take care of his lord and leaves. He calls her and tells her the nightmare won't trouble you anymore. Sandman tells Matthew they are going to hell to get his helmet, and he pours sand on his hand and disappears. Thanks for watching and make sure to press the subscribe button for more amazing videos.